Oh, man. I got it back.
Your turn, so.
You gotta be quiet. Hold on.
Kelly, you know I love you more than anything in the world. Fuck up, you don't matter more to it. Nothing would make me happier than spend the rest of my life in front of your family and all of our friends. Kelly, can you marry me? Oh my God! There's no way!
Wow!
That's incredible.
Kelly Osbourne never expected that Ozzy Osbourne's final roar on stage would turn into the moment her entire life changed forever, when love, history, and legacy collided in front of thousands, and one single question rewrote everything in seconds. Kelly Osbourne stood frozen as Ozzy Osbourne walked toward the center of the stage for the final time, and Kelly Osbourne felt the weight of history pressing against her chest, because this night was not just about music. It was about survival, legacy, and the end of a chapter that defined her entire life. And as the crowd screamed Ozzy Osbourne's name, Kelly Osbourne watched her father with pride, fear, and disbelief, knowing that this was the last time the world would see him command a stage like this. And Kelly Osbourne remembered every hospital room, every headline, every moment people said Ozzy Osbourne was finished, and yet here he stood, proving them wrong once again. Ozzy Osbourne lifted the microphone, and the sound of his voice sent waves through the arena, and Kelly Osbourne felt tears rise as memories flooded back, from childhood nights backstage to chaotic tours and reality television moments that exposed their family to the world. And Kelly Osbourne realized that no matter how famous Ozzy Osbourne became, he was always just her dad, and this was the hardest goodbye she had ever faced. The lights burned bright as Ozzy Osbourne moved across the stage, and Kelly Osbourne saw Sharon Osbourne standing nearby, holding herself together with strength built from decades of storms, and Kelly Osbourne squeezed her mother's hand, feeling the truth of the moment, because this performance was not guaranteed. Doctors had warned them, and time had threatened everything, but Ozzy Osbourne refused to disappear quietly. As the music thundered, Kelly Osbourne glanced towards Sid Wilson, who stood close, watching with intense focus and emotion, and Kelly Osbourne felt something strange in the air, something heavier than farewell and deeper than sadness, and she could not explain why her heart began to race, as if destiny itself was shifting direction in real time. The crowd roared louder with every song, and Kelly Osbourne noticed fans crying, screaming, and holding each other, because Ozzy Osbourne was more than an artist. He was a symbol of rebellion, resilience, and survival. And Kelly Osbourne understood that this night would be remembered forever, not just as a concert, but as a historical moment in music culture. When Ozzy Osbourne reached the final song, the atmosphere changed completely, and Kelly Osbourne felt silence between notes, even with thousands of people present, and she watched Ozzy Osbourne close his eyes, singing with everything he had left, and Kelly Osbourne realized this was his goodbye, not just to fans, but to the stage itself. As the final note echoed, Ozzy Osbourne raised his arms, and the crowd exploded, and Kelly Osbourne felt the floor vibrate under her feet, and tears streamed down her face as she clapped, screamed, and cried, because she knew nothing would ever feel the same again, and she turned to Sid Wilson, needing comfort and reassurance. That was the moment when time stopped, because Sid Wilson stepped forward and dropped to one knee, and Kelly Osbourne froze, unable to breathe, unable to speak, as the noise around her faded into nothing, and all she could see was Sid Wilson, looking up at her with love and courage written across his face. Kelly Osbourne felt shock, disbelief, and overwhelming emotion crash into her all at once, because this was happening at Ozzy Osbourne's last show, in front of thousands, and history itself, and Kelly Osbourne's hands trembled as she realized this proposal was real, and irreversible, and unforgettable. Fans nearby began to notice what was happening, and phones lifted, capturing the moment as whispers spread like wildfire. And Kelly Osbourne felt exposed, yet protected, as if the universe itself had aligned to create this once-in-a-lifetime scene. And Ozzy Osbourne looked on from the stage, realizing his farewell had become something even bigger. Sid Wilson spoke from the heart, and Kelly Osbourne barely heard the words because her heart was pounding so loudly, and she felt every struggle she had survived, every mistake she had learned from, and every step that led her to this exact second. And Kelly Osbourne understood why this moment had chosen this night. Kelly Osbourne thought about love, growth, and survival, and she saw her entire journey reflected in Ozzy Osbourne's strength on stage, and she knew that life never waits for perfect timing. It creates meaning through chaos. And Kelly Osbourne nodded yes through tears, laughter, and shaking breath as the crowd erupted again. The arena exploded with cheers, not just for Ozzy Osbourne, but for Kelly Osbourne's future unfolding in real time, and she embraced Sid Wilson, knowing that this moment would be replayed forever, and she felt gratitude, fear, and joy blend together into something powerful and unforgettable. The noise inside the arena refused to settle even after the proposal, because Kelly Osbourne's yes had unlocked a second emotional explosion that blended perfectly with Ozzy Osbourne's farewell, and Kelly Osbourne felt herself shaking as the meaning of everything finally began to sink in, and she realized that this night would never belong to just one story ever again. Ozzy Osbourne slowly made his way toward Kelly Osbourne and Sid Wilson with the same unbreakable presence that had defined his career, and Kelly Osbourne saw her father smiling through tears, a rare vulnerable expression that told the truth better than words ever could. And when Ozzy Osbourne wrapped his arms around her, Kelly Osbourne felt a lifetime of protection, love, and survival crash over her all at once. Sharon Osbourne stepped forward, immediately pulling Kelly Osbourne and Sid Wilson into a tight embrace. And Kelly Osbourne felt the strength of her mother, a woman who had carried the Osbourne name through chaos, addiction, judgment, and recovery. And this moment felt like a reward for every battle Sharon Osbourne had fought behind closed doors. Backstage, emotions erupted as musicians, crew members, and close friends surrounded Kelly Osbourne, offering congratulations, hugs, and tears. And Kelly Osbourne felt overwhelmed by how much love existed in one space, and she realized that despite growing up in public scrutiny, she had built something real, lasting, and honest. As word of the proposal spread through the venue, fans screamed louder, chanting Kelly Osbourne's name alongside Ozzy Osbourne's, and Kelly Osbourne understood that she was no longer just witnessing history, she was part of it, and the realization carried both power and responsibility. Social media exploded within minutes. Clips of the proposal flooded timelines, and headlines began forming before the night had even ended. And Kelly Osbourne knew the truth could not be twisted, because the emotion was undeniable, raw, and unscripted. In later interviews, Kelly Osbourne explained that she never imagined getting engaged during Ozzy Osbourne's final show, but looking back, she believed there could never have been a more meaningful moment, because her father's strength inspired her belief in love, resilience, and commitment. Sid Wilson shared that he chose that moment not for attention, but for honesty, because Ozzy Osbourne's final performance represented survival, and choosing a future in that space felt symbolic, powerful, and respectful, and Kelly Osbourne felt deeply moved by that intention. As the night came to an end, Kelly Osbourne returned to the empty stage, walking slowly across it, touching the floor and looking up at the lights, and she felt the echo of Ozzy Osbourne's voice still hanging in the air, and she understood that endings do not erase energy, they transform it. Kelly Osbourne reflected on her own journey, addiction, recovery, self-discovery, and healing, and she recognized how far she had come from chaos into clarity, and she felt proud, knowing her future was no longer about surviving storms, but about building something steady. The engagement ring on her finger felt heavier than jewelry because it carried meaning, memory, and promise, and Kelly Osbourne smiled, knowing that this ring would always remind her of courage, timing, and family. Fans continued to celebrate the moment, calling it legendary, emotional, and unforgettable, and Kelly Osbourne felt grateful, knowing that something so personal had inspired so many people to believe in love again. Ozzy Osbourne later spoke about how witnessing his daughter's proposal during his final show felt like a blessing, a reminder that even as one chapter closes, another opens stronger and brighter, and Kelly Osbourne carried those words close to her heart. As days passed and the world replayed the footage, Kelly Osbourne watched with a mixture of tears, pride, and peace, because she knew that no edit, no headline could change the truth of that night. Kelly Osbourne now steps into the future with Sid Wilson, grounded, confident, and full of hope, carrying her father's legacy, not as a shadow, but as a source of strength and inspiration. And as Ozzy Osbourne's final roar fades into history, Kelly Osbourne's love story begins its own chapter, proving that even in goodbye, life always finds a way to say hello again.